and that you should notice the air. Right? The air in fall in New England is something very special. As someone who lived here and then moved away 17 years ago, and having this being my very first time back, the first thing I noticed coming out of the airplane, so notice the air. Let's just jump right in. George Simmel was a philosopher, German philosopher that worked around the turn of the 19th century, going into the 20th century. And one of the things he did was to define humanity in terms of exchange, in terms of their ability to trade things one with another. And he defined an exchange as each party in the transaction giving up something with the hope of getting something better. Right? And fundamentally, we work with that notion of thinking about what is a market. It's a system of exchanges. Right? As someone who practices anthropology for a living and has a team of social scientists, when we go out into the world, we try to understand what those systems of exchange are, right? How they work, how they're animated, how the people inform them and infuse them and bring them to life. In fact, that's what we do. Instead of focusing on does the technology link to this and is there a wire connected to that and what companies are working to this, we actually think about who are the participants, what resources they have, what's the relationship of power that they have one with another, how do they work together, and where are their barriers and concerns for the kind of work that they need to do on the ground to get things done in the ways they need to get things done. A couple of quick examples. We worked with a professor colleague of ours, Hussein Hilken, who's a professor at the University of Kentucky, an anthropologist. He did some work in Morocco years and years ago now. He looked at specifically workers, people doing craft and plumbing and things like that, and how the cell phone did or didn't change their lives. It turns out that it increased their incomes by about 70%. Right? Why? Because it brought efficiencies in finding jobs and it brought opportunities for the kind of work that they could actually go and do while reducing the cost of actually going to find those jobs. They didn't have to take a bus to go somewhere to find the jobs. They could call and talk to each other, and they could work their networks to find where there were good jobs for each other. In another example in India, we looked at the information kiosks, again, a locally grown kind of endeavor where they put computers with people who ran small businesses in rural areas in India, and they were provided government services to people in those rural villages. There are 600,000 rural villages in India. Most of them don't have access to government services. They did in this way. They worked through local systems to create the arrangements so that those government services could be provided. The people in the village went to the kiosk, to the person who runs the kiosk. Right? They did the work for them, so that person didn't have to lose a day of work. They could just go there. And it was actually the aggregation of that work that brought an efficiency, and then it brought more opportunities also to the village because of the connection and because of what that small business person could do. Right? So 2 examples where simple technologies brought efficiencies that also opened opportunities.